Today we're going to be checking out a black liberal rages as he didn't want to accept the reality that white privileges doesn't exist. Without further ado, let's check it out.
Statistics.
No,
So
no,
we can
white,
see
white
that
people are
they
here.
This is a statistical
White
reality.
people are here. You, there's
Okay,
white
and
people
if they're
that
here, then we're here.
No, no,
If
no,
they're
no.
here, then we're here. This is a
but
statistical reality.
with you,
Like, what are you
just
talking
just
about?
get for you. How do you be successful in America? You be successful by doing these things. That's how anybody will be successful.
That's
America,
not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee.
nothing is a guarantee for white people either.
This is gonna be interesting, isn't it?
He mentioned that white privilege, I call white privilege a myth. There's nothing that white people can do to stop black people from succeeding in America today. There's no law, there's no legislation, there's no hierarchy. There's nothing that can stop black people from being just as successful as anybody else in America today.
So,
do you believe that or not?
So, I mean, there's nothing officially on the books that says
No, unofficially.
So let me finish. So there's nothing on the books that officially says you're black, you can't do this. What we're existing in today is after generations of systems that excluded black people specifically from access to economics, from infrastructure, from education. Now we're existing, we're born after generations of that, where people now have access to that and they can meet out who gets it. So we see in all the statistics, black people have access to the lowest numbers of economics. They have the lowest education funding. They have the lowest access to venture capitalists. This doesn't just happen out of nowhere. This happens after generations of literal laws that were met. It was collusion between private businesses and the government to specifically exclude black people from opportunity. We know this in redlining, we know this in gerrymandering, you know this in Jim Crow laws. I mean, we just barely got to actual, I mean, we're still fighting over whether or not we have a proper representation in corporate demographics. I mean, we have DEI and all this, but still look at corporate demographics. It's still white men, vastly the majority of it. Do you think that's because of ability? No.
Yeah,
it's
no,
because
I think
let me finish.
Okay.
It's because of generations of access that were excluded from a certain community and given to a certain community.
So
now,
right now,
let me finish.
No.
So now we see in
gotta get to your point.
2025. Look
You
at
gotta get
this.
to your
Look
point.
at the statistics. Do you think it's a coincidence that the communities that were systematically excluded from these things, again, collusion from private businesses and governments for generations, hundreds of years, we're what, 50, 60 years out of this now. Do you think it's a coincidence that these communities have poor outcomes versus these communities that were given this access?
All right, look, there's no need to even insinuate that there's coincidence at all, because there's actual actionable things that you can see that cause communities to fail. And we know
Such
that a
as
lot of it,
gerrymandering and
you
redlining.
gerrymandering and all of that stuff. You could say, what about the two-parent homes? We had more success.
Yeah, I'll let you finish.
Black people had more growth and success after slavery at an accelerated rate that at this point we would have been growing faster than white people. But at some point, we bought into the propaganda of not pulling ourselves up our bootstraps, not marrying the women that we have children with, not exploring economic success and having a community of growth and money circulation. And we divvied all that away. And I believe the civil rights movement. And now we're in a desolate place, still hoping and praying that politicians are going to rescue us, and they never will. Black people today, if you go and get an education, you will be successful. I went to a school that was Dunbar High School. You can look it up on your phone. Dunbar High School and Stop 6 right in the hood. How am I successful? Because I got an education. The people from that school that did not do well is the people that did not pursue their education. Now, whether they mama and them helped them, that ain't got nothing to do with me, ain't got nothing to do with white people or nobody else. Unfortunately, they were in an environment like that.
Exactly.
But that's a choice by individuals. That's not a system in place.
So, I mean,
and you say coincidentally, I'm trying to find an example of how these communities are failing. You can find correlated things. Households that do not succeed are households that are broken. Do you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
How are households broken? I don't think there's a system in place to tell you to get on top of Betsy and hit that and then don't take care of your kids. That's not a system in place that's doing that. A man is making a decision to do that. It's exploited, exacerbated in culture and music by black people that affects black people. And that determines the outcome that we see today. Not Jim Crow, the crack epidemic, all of that stuff is things of the past. And even then, It didn't affect all black people.
Ex-
If you had
That's the
crack in the
thing.
community, nobody made you sell that to your brother or your sister. That's a fact. People decided because they wanted quick money. They want quick success. They want a ball. They want to do all this stuff. So they begin to degrade their own people.
Sorry, I posted this, but I'm trying. I want to voice out my agreement to what this man is saying. I am, I'm with him really because it's like something Thomas Howell says about the black community being the problem. If you choose, it's a choice. It's a choice, right? You choose to stay in this neighborhood. It's bringing you that is pulling you down. You see these things. You choose to stay there instead of getting out. You choose to put yourself in that situation. There is no system in place that tells a man to have multiple baby mamas and not, be married to any of them. There is no system. I mean, we're doing these things to ourselves. We're doing these things to ourselves, but it's easier to point a finger at someone else. That we are doing this stuff to ourselves.
In order to get temporary wealth and success. That damaged the black community.
Gang.
Violence, gang membership. That's the difference. That's one of the big difference between poor blacks and poor whites is you have a level of violence in the inner city communities that don't exist in other places. This is cultural dynamics that we are afraid to address because we rather say it's the white man's fault. It's some system that happened 70 years, 80 years ago, slavery a couple hundred years ago.
Exactly.
We go down a list of those things and not addressing the real issues. I grew up in a black community. White people weren't the problem. White people historically wasn't the problem. That community used to be a very successful black community in Stop 6, Fort Worth, Texas. Very successful. Doctors, lawyers. Then what happened? The degeneracy of a generation of blacks began to destroy the community.
Do you really think that's what happened, man? Do you really think
I think that has a lot more to do with it than Jim Crow and all
were
that
like
stuff.
going wild and they're like, let's just be fucked up and fuck this all up? Like, do
Yeah.
you really think that
I
that's
think they
what
got
happened?
tricked into
You
it.
don't
They got
think
tricked
that-
into
you don't,
it.
You don't think that there was a system
No, I think they got tricked into
specifically
it.
that deindustrialized their centers, that tax theft, that they took the taxes from them and gave them to wealthier neighborhoods? Like, this is how it happened.
No,
But,
I think
but that was a tangent. I want to go back to what
No,
you
no,
were
I
saying
think that-
before.
I think
'cause
that-
I got 2 points. Wait.
Okay.
So the first thing. So I just want to say first off, I agree that culture absolutely determines outcomes, and I think that a fucked up culture is going to generate fucked up outcomes. So I'm not here to say that there isn't an issue with
I agree.
culture in our community. I mean, this is fuck all them. This is a conversation between you and I as black people, right?
Right.
Like we get it.
We agree on
We
that.
understand that.
Oh,
there
at
is
least he
things that happen
agrees.
in our
That's
community.
good.
Absolutely. I think it's both though. You can't divorce the systemic inequality that has been perpetuated on the black community from the outcomes. You can't
I agree.
You can't divorce
I agree.
single parent households from the war on drugs, which specifically targeted black
But
communities with harsher sentences.
I disagree.
We know this for a fact.
No,
we
no,
know that
I
black communities were targeted more than white
I know,
communities were
I
targeted.
disagree.
We know that the administration that started the war on drugs did this. We know this from their advisors. We know this from the people who wrote the plans. They said we wrote these plans to purposefully impact negatively the black community intentionally.
Let me-
So we know for a fact that this didn't just happen out of a vacuum. Again, like your neighborhood, people didn't just wake up one day and say, let's fuck all this up. No.
No. What happened is we bought into a system, right? And this is what I think Malcolm X was trying to say way back in Martin Luther King's day. Martin Luther King, in my personal opinion, was a pawn that was used to destroy the black community because we did not continue our success and develop economic growth within our own ecosystem. We destroyed that ecosystem to go join an ecosystem that we weren't invited to. And that hurt us tremendously because you can see the growth and success of black people in the 30s and 40s and then 50s, 60s, 70s. You can see the way they voted. Black people voted for Republicans. Black people were conservative Republicans. The first politicians, black politicians were all Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah, but then what happened to Republicans though? Like then they
Do some research. Go study something. The parties didn't switch. That's the craziest thing ever. Anyway,
Well, they
so
didn't switch,
black
but they
people
shifted over
no,
time.
they
They didn't trade places.
They didn't shift.
They didn't trade places.
I'm
but to say
prove
the party politics
I'll
didn't
prove
shift
you.
over time
I'll
is
prove you.
historically false.
I'll prove you that oh boy, that it didn't shift.
I'm not saying
so
they
what I'm
traded
saying
places.
is, what I'm saying is
They didn't
that
shift as
what I'm saying is that the way you generate wealth, and we all know this to be true, is if you have your community pass money within the community. You can look at it today, and it's historically been this case.
Yeah.
When black people get successful, where do they move?
No.
They move out of the black community. They don't stay and build the black
It's
community.
like
They
that
don't
in
circulate their
Africa.
wealth in the black community. They don't buy from black-owned businesses. These are the things that hurt us economically more so than all these other contributing factors. The contributing factors are true. Black people were alienated. Black people were ostracized. Black people were not allowed to go into certain white spaces for economic success and growth. But that did not deter black people from not supporting black banks. Why didn't we support our own banks? The Jewish people have done it in a this is what Kanye, even though he crazy and he went off the, but this is what Kanye was saying. Look at the Jewish community. Look at how they employ each other. They do business with each other. They make sure that their community eats. Black people, what they did in a pursuit to be like white people or be with white people at a time where white people wanted nothing to do with them, they vacated the opportunity to build a community and build wealth. Look at the black people today. All these billionaires, where do they invest their money? It's not in the black
He's right,
business.
though.
Al Sharpton wanted to boycott Target. For what? For 24 hours. What did that do? Nothing. You'll never see Al Sharpton say, every black person send your kid to a HBCU. Why wouldn't he do that? Because he's not going to send his kids to a HBCU. Every black person put your money into a black bank and support black-owned businesses. Why wouldn't Al Sharpton tell people to do that? Because he ain't finna put his money into black-owned businesses. So what I'm saying is that we have more power to create success in the black community than we are being told. The white man had a contributing factor, but we have done it all, or done a lot of it to ourselves, that white people who have a vested interest to hate blacks don't have to do anything anymore.
I think where you and I would absolutely agree is that there needs to be a focus. Black people need to focus on building our community and strength. I think that integration, what it did was it put us into spaces where we still didn't have access, where the focus should have been on let's make stronger black communities rather than let's dismantle this, right? Because we see clearly it didn't actually do much except for
It hurt us.
Yeah, I believe if integrationists, abolitionists really loved black people, they would have come to shop at their businesses instead of saying, no, close that and come and live in my neighborhood, right? So I agree with you on that. However, I refuse to ever agree that white supremacy hasn't had an impact on us and that racism and that these systems have not had an impact.
I think we agree. It has had an impact. I do not think that to this day, like today, that any of that will stop a black person from succeeding in America. Has it had historical impact?
Man,
yes. But let me make this point, because I want everybody to know this. I'm only speaking of black people building the community and all this for black people who believe that they want their own thing. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm an American. I want all of us to work
how you
together.
made the world go
That's what I
round.
want. So I don't care that black people don't only use black banks, because I partner with everybody. White people have been a contributing factor of my success more so than black people have ever thought of. So in my opinion, if black people want to complain about not having access and not having generational wealth and all of these things that white people are doing, the argument for them is that you had the opportunity, call it out that you don't even support your own people.
I just want to say, man, it's not just complaining. There's actually instances in which you say black people pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? What does that mean? That means invest in us, right? So there's actually instances in which
That means that we need to
stop complaining
assimilate.
and invest in us.
No, we need to assimilate.
Okay.
We need to say,
Right.
Instead of me saying, I'm black, hey,
Yeah,
people come shop in my black business, or I need black people to support me. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I want everybody to support me.
But would you disagree that black people we need to focus specifically on our community? I mean,
No.
is that not what you were just saying?
No.
Is
I'm
that
saying that's the
what we
argument for
had
people who
before
complain.
Was
This
black
guy is
economy
so-
What I'm saying is that
ruin that?
what I'm saying is the
Convinced
people who
himself.
complain about it, the people who are black people are so downtrodden, all of this stuff. I'm explaining from that perspective. For me, in my life, I feel like that we all need to work together, no matter
So-
what color you are.
Yeah.
I think that black people need to assimilate. It's nothing wrong with black people working with white people. There's nothing wrong with black people working with Jewish people. There's nothing wrong with having multicultural people working at your facility as a black man.
I don't think we'd literally, it's literally impossible. We don't have the economics to not be able to assimilate. I mean, obviously we have to be able to build allyships with communities outside of ours. That's just how economics works, right? But the idea that black people are just complaining and we can't. There was a business known as the Fearless Fund. I shared this link I don't know how many times by now. So it was the Fearless Fund, and they were a black woman-owned venture capitalist fund who gave small business grants to specifically black and black women-owned businesses, right? So there was this There's this conservative organization known as Alliance something. I don't know. He's one of the anti-DEI ghouls, right? So
Yeah.
he sued them using civil rights era law, anti-discrimination law, stating that what they were doing by focusing on specifically black businesses was racist. So when we're told, and the judges agreed with him. So when we're told pull yourself up by your bootstraps, we see black people doing this, and then they use the federal courts to sue those bootstraps away.
Yeah.
So obviously, the goal isn't really for black people to become self-sufficient. It's for them to
be an American.
What?
It's to be an
but
American.
Black people have a specific history in this country
Right,
that has
but-
led to them
but-
to have these
but-
bad outcomes.
No,
so,
but
so
we need to-
we can't approach the table the same as a white person.
We
If
can.
we're coming from here, we can't both approach the table like
No,
this,
no, no,
bro.
no.
Like,
You
we
look-
have to
look,
both
you-
be
you're-
on equal
because
footing.
you
So
think-
in order for black people to be up here, we have to pay specific attention, because specific attention was paid to the detriment of black
But
people.
you're
for
saying
hundreds of years.
approaching the table as white people here, black people here. You're assuming white people are here. White people are
Exactly.
here.
The statistics.
No, no,
you can
white-
see
white
that
people are
they
here.
This is a
think
statistic.
so too.
White people are here. There's
Okay,
white
and
people
if they're
that
here, then we're here.
No, no,
If
no,
they're
no.
here, then we're
Statistical
here. This is
reality.
a statistical
But
reality.
with you,
Like, what are you
Is
Just-
that how
just
bad
get-
it is
get-
in
for
America?
you,
I don't
specifically.
get it.
there are white people that are not as successful as you.
Yes, we're not talking about outliers. We're talking
No,
about
not
the
outliers.
generals.
Not
These
outliers.
Are outliers.
Because-
if you
no,
look
no,
at
we
the
are
average-
individuals.
The average white
We-
family has more income than the
The
average
a,
black
and
family.
the average white
Yes, there
family
are
is
some
married.
black
The
families.
average white family have a two-parent
Okay,
household.
and there are white families that are divorced. You're talking about outliers. We're talking
I'm not talking about outliers. I'm talking about generic principles that can help you be successful. So as a black man, you wake up, I don't know wherever demographic you wake up in, how do you be successful in America? You be successful by doing these things. That's how anybody will be successful.
That's
America,
not a guarantee. That's not
That's
a guarantee.
nothing
life,
is a
bro.
guarantee for
That's
white
life.
people either. It's that if you want to make the best outcome in your life, no matter what color you are, that's why that's why we live in America. If we live somewhere else, I'll be telling you something different. You do these things, you will be successful.
Okay, so it's not a guarantee for everybody, but it's even less of a guarantee if you're born into a community that has been systematically underfunded
Or if you-
and has been systematically deprived. Like, that's the
I'd say,
entire point.
forget
Sure,
the
things
systematic
can
thing-
be hard for everybody.
I will
but
leave the
if you're-
systematic thing out of it. If you're born into a community where
you
your mom
can't-
and your
no,
daddy
you-
not
you
together,
literally can't leave
if
the
your mom and your
systematic
daddy
thing
not
out of it,
together,
though.
if your mom and daddy not together, you grew up in that community, that's more difficult for you.
Okay, if your mom and dad aren't together because the government specifically
And the government ain't
targeted-
none of your mom and daddy.
All right, man.
It's a choice.
So if they're not together because your father got caught up in the
Because he was
then
no,
that's
he
you
ain't
being-
caught up on drugs. He was
Okay.
selling drugs.
He was selling drugs because he didn't have opportunity.
Well, other
because-
black people had
because he was
opportunity.
born into a neighborhood
No,
where his school
that's not-
got
bro, that's
funded,
not- that's
so
not-
he didn't have.
that's not-
That's literally how
that's
it happens.
not-
man. People
that's
don't just
not
wake up.
realistic.
Like, that is realistic.
No.
That's how it happens. What are you talking
No,
about?
no. Why didn't I sell? What'd you
I mean-
say?
People don't sell drugs for fun.
Oh,
Like,
what community you live in? What community you live in where people sold drugs?
None currently.
Okay, you don't
There's
know
a
what you're
reason
talking
why
about.
people
So in the
live
community that
driven-
in the community,
Wait, hold on. But where do you live? Is it poor? Is it middle class? Is it
Upper middle. But
right?
still, I
So
can
people
also
don't sell
acknowledge-
drugs where he lives because
they
they
do
don't
sell
need to.
drugs.
Because
They
don't
do sell
need to.
drugs. They
So
do sell drugs.
Okay, but are people being arrested?
No, no, let's-
No, hold on. So are
let's
people
put this
being
to-
arrested for drugs in your neighborhood?
Not that I'm.
He don't know. He's not a
Right,
cop. So how we know?
So people are
Let-
selling drugs here and they're being
let me explain.
arrested. People are selling
No,
drugs
no.
here and they're not.
Let
being
me
arrested.
explain.
And you're saying that this is
No,
equal.
no. Let me explain.
Man, I'm out of here. I gotta
right,
get to
thank
class.
you.
Y'all have a good one, man.
Honestly, that guy is called Babes. There's no way a person can be successful with a mentality like that, with this mentality that everyone is against you. Oh, I can't do this because this particular set of people are not going to let me do it. It's not like you tried and you failed. No, you just assumed the world is against you, so you don't try to move forward. That's like, I don't think there's anything more harmful than that. He's buried himself in this bubble. He's built that he thinks that the white people are against him and he cannot move forward, or the black community cannot move forward because of the white people. And that is just wrong. I mean, I get what this other guy is saying. The problem is with the black community. Even in Africa, when a man becomes successful, what does he do? He moves abroad. He takes his businesses abroad. They don't build and develop Africa. Once they have the money, they're out of there. Their children are schooling abroad. When they get sick themselves, they take them abroad to get treated. What is that? Is that not saying anything about about the black community, about Africa, about black people in particular. I mean, I checked out a video of this pastor, Pastor Manning, talking about how Africa didn't build anything, and I completely agree, because it's there is something wrong with our minds, honestly. You open a business and say, hey, I want all the black people to patronize me. You're putting yourself in for failure. How about you open a business and everyone is welcome in? That's how you get successful. And I really hope people start opening their eyes to see that nobody is against them and everyone can be successful. You just need to push. You just need to try things. If you fail, you try again. You need to drop all that entitlement mentality and being offended by anything, not contributing anything. You're killing yourselves. We're killing ourselves. And thank you very much for sharing this video. Thank you guys for watching the video as well. I really hope you enjoy. What do you guys think about what this liberal guy is saying? Do you think he's right? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one.